Hi everyone, Mark DeJesus here, helping believers in Christ to experience healing and freedom in their life and in their journey. Welcome to this broadcast. I want to talk about how to connect to emotions when you feel dead. Dead. You ever say that? You ever express that? I just feel dead inside. I feel numb. I feel checked out. I'm just out. I feel nothing. I'm dead inside. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm out. Whatever. Who cares? What's the point? Are those words that you find that you use? They could be signs that you're trying to identify this state. You say, I just feel dead. And you want to feel emotions, right? You're trying to connect with them. Well, I want to say this up front. If you feel you are in that place in your life and you're watching this video, that's a great sign. That's a great sign, because people who are just truly dead inside, to use that term, they don't seek for help, look for help, care to even consider wanting to improve that state. So the good news is the reality that you're able to identify that this is going on in your life to some degree, it means there's hope that things can improve. There are things that you can learn and understand help. And that's what I'm praying in this video will be a help to you in your life, in your journey. Now, I want to say this up front. Where things get off the rails is what we often do is we often interpret what we're going through inaccurately. I've done a lot of work, for example, in helping people with OCD issues. And pretty much 10 times out of 10, people who battle OCD, they interpret what they're thinking, feeling, the emotions they're having, they interpret them harshly. The meaning they give to their thoughts is very intense, it's very harsh, it's very dark, it goes downhill quick. So they don't embrace the nurture that's available. And many times people come to me, they say, I'm dead, I'm numb, I'm out, I feel nothing. Well, the fact that they're going for help shows they're not dead. People who are dead, you try to talk to them about something, they're not interested, they don't care. Lights are on, nobody's home, just nothing. It takes a pretty long journey going into those places. And people come to me, they go, I think that's me. I was like, no, you're not. Like, how do you know? It's number one, because you're interested in feedback and help. Okay, so it shows there's life. We need to connect to it. Now, the problem with not having an emotional capacity, if you haven't been trained and equipped in your emotions, it's very easy to interpret yourself harshly and go, you know what, I'm just dead, I'm lifeless, I have nothing. It's very easy to go black and white. How many of you go black and white on yourself? It's either I'm all good or all nothing. Many times when we say we feel dead, what we're wanting to say is, I'm wanting to feel joy, I'm wanting to feel peace, I'm wanting to feel enjoyment, I want to feel happy, and I don't feel any of those things. And that's what we're meaning when we say I feel dead inside. And what that's often a sign of is there's emotions on the other side of the spectrum that haven't been cultivated. You see, we can't just live a life where it's only happy, it's only joy, it's only wonderful peace, and you don't have sadness and grief and mourning and heartache. And we were designed to live throughout the spectrum of emotions that we, the ones that become more in the grief, sadness category. We don't get stuck there forever, but we learn and get equipped on how to navigate through them. Emotions are like waves in the ocean. They come and go. The waves come, they move back. Then there's those big waves that hit us, right? That needs special attention. That needs special understanding, special equipping. If I'm out swimming in a somewhat shallow area of the ocean, going through the waves takes a little bit getting used to as a kid, but as you get older, it's fine. But then when a big wave comes, you got to know what you're doing, right? So a lot of what happens when we say we feel dead is we're at a limit, right? We say, I've hit my limit. I can't take it anymore. I just can't do it. So there's this capacity we feel we've reached. Now, that capacity, that limit that we feel we've reached is a couple things. One, it may be a signal that, you know what, we don't have to keep doing things the same way and just keep doing the same thing. It may just need an adjustment of how you're looking at where you are in life. And sometimes I just find I'll just do the same thing over and over again. I would take a step back and wait a second. Am I being too hard on myself? Do I need to see this from a different perspective? Do I need to talk to someone to help me to see where I'm at differently? I also find that we can come into an agreement with, I have no more strength left in me. And there's probably just one step further in just being stretched in where we need to go. I'm not telling you that you need to just kick in the afterburners and push. No. But maybe the membrane of your emotional existence needs some greater flexibility. There's an emotion you haven't allowed yourself to feel that needs some flex. For example, I didn't know how to deal with sadness. Now, I tend to be more on the sensitive line of the spectrum. I have a sensitivity in my emotions, didn't know how to cultivate that. So when I would feel a certain emotion, I just want to get rid of it because it was very disturbing, and I interpreted it so harshly. Oh, this means I'm not a good enough Christian. This means I'm not following God in the best ways. So it got me off the rails, and I had to learn how to not just stabilize those areas, I had to learn how to process through them. Emotions are things that we work through. They're not things we just get rid of. Did you hear what I said? Emotions are not just things that we just get rid of. I feel anxious. How do I get rid of this anxiety? No, it's about going through the anxiety. I feel angry. I want to just get rid of this anger. You may need to walk through that anger because it's often an emotion we've not been equipped to deal with. So, for example, growing up, when you were angry, most parents will say, stop that. That's inappropriate. That's wrong. Don't act that way. Did parenting say, hey, you're upset? Let's walk through navigating that emotion, right? Most people don't have a grid for that. And many times their parents were emotionally immature or undeveloped anyway, so they didn't know what to do. They just wanted you to kind of stop that emotion because it's inconvenient and it's disturbing the family right now, so we don't need you feeling sad or feeling this or feeling, And then you grow up in life going, I don't want to trouble anybody with my problems and things like that. So here's the thing. You go into life and life hits you. Resistance, trials, struggles, traumas, difficulties. No one's exempt from it. So they hit you and your emotional capacity can get tapped out very easily. Now, you feeling that tap out, when I say tap out, like that's like a wrestling term, like then they tap out and go, I quit, I give up. It doesn't mean anything less about you. It just means there's the membrane, I use that terminology, is like what surrounds a cell, right? It kind of holds things. That the membrane, it just needs a stretching in a good way. But that takes nurture. It takes equipping. So if you feel like you're dead, it's a sign you're in a part of recovery of your heart that needs special attention. And it needs a combination of some healthy nurture to look at your situation compassionately, and then some equipping to go, how do we take some steps forward? Okay? There could be underlying things of weariness. You're just weary and worn out, and you need some tending to in some certain areas. It could be you're just needing, like I said, you're needing that stretching, and this is the time. You go, I can't take anymore. And it's like, no, it's not about that. It's about there's just a new level of going to. There's a new invitation of new. I need a new perspective. I need a new way of seeing things. I need a new way of responding to life. I got to let go of some things because oftentimes moving into new levels of our life, we got to let go and embrace the new. What do I got to let go of? And I often find we go around the mountain and repeat the same patterns because God is wanting us to see the pattern so that we invite a new pattern, a new, more empowered, upgraded pattern in our life. Or you may be somebody who you've had a lifestyle of not connecting to your emotions. It's a lifestyle of just not being permitted, not having permission to do it, never really knowing how to do that effectively. See, there's a lot of things, but it really comes down to what was your equipping in response to difficulties and challenges. So I'm going to give you some things that these are more like journaling pathways. These are things for you to sit down and process through. This is not like a quick fix video. This is not like, hey, I'm going to give you one thing and this will solve everything. Everything will be fine. There's a myriad of areas that you'll probably have to consider in the pathway of your healing journey. But here's what I have found in my life is helpful, and I pray it's helpful for your life and your journey. The first thing that I do, and I encourage others to do, is we have to be sober about the things that we battle and sometimes ask, what will my life look like if I don't do anything about this? Meaning, like, many times people say to me, I'm dead, I'm just numb. And they haven't really gotten sober about it. Now, I'm not talking about panicking. Oh my goodness, I'm numb and it means that God's left me and everything. No. It's about being sober, that your life means something. And if you do nothing, where does this head? What does life look like in your marriage, with your parenting? If you're single, what does it look like in people you relate to in friendships, those you are a blessing to? What does it look like if you're disconnected from your emotional world and not able to live out of that empathy, connectivity, being able to process the good, the bad, the difficulty, the challenges, the highs and the lows, not being able to navigate? What's the cost of doing nothing? Because I find in life change and all kinds of transformational journey, sometimes I found that helped me a lot, was I had to connect to what will my life look like if I don't do anything about this? And I just kind of stay the way that I am. What will relationships look like? Will they be less fulfilling? What will be the quality of life? What will be my day-to-day? Because this sobers us to go, it's time to do something about it. Now, it doesn't mean go get a counseling session and in 2 sessions, you're going to fix things. No, that's not how this works. This is a journey. You didn't get here overnight, so you're not going to move into new places overnight. And Christianity needs to stop with like quick fix kind of things, these marketing, kind of methodologies, because all it does is discourage people. So what we're going to need to do now is we're going to need to look at moving forward. And in moving forward, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to embrace compassion. We're going to need to be compassionate towards where you're at. And this is probably the most important part. You've said, you know what? I'm going to sober up to the reality of, if I don't do anything, my marriage is not going to improve, my parenting's not going to improve, relationship with friends, family is not going to get better. So that's a wake up. Sometimes we need a wake up call to go, I need to work on this. Otherwise, we might panic when a crisis happens and we just go back to the way we live, okay? The second thing, though, is we need to embrace the compassionate witness. We need to see ourselves the way God sees us, and he sees us through kindness, patience, through a loving welcome. He welcomes us in. He wants to connect in relationship. You might be beating yourself up over your state and what you're going through. He's looking at you with kindness, and his compassion just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So, practically speaking, don't diagnose your feelings of deadness in that harsh, bitter, judgmental way, because it'll just make you feel worse. There are many people struggling with depression, and at the root system of their depression is self-hatred. They do not embrace compassion and how they see themselves. So therefore, an anger rises to the surface. It fuels this self-hating, self-contempt kind of perspective. What you need is a loving embrace. You need compassionate grace. Just like Jesus looking at the woman caught in adultery, you need that perspective that he had. You need to receive that for yourself. Now, Many people struggle with this for so many reasons. You grew up, you weren't given permission, to be able to feel certain things. Emotions, what are you talking about? In Christianity, we're notorious for either believers kind of just follow every emotion, as though it's permanent fact that they need to follow for the rest of their life, or this don't ever pay attention ever to your emotions, right? And both extremes have problems, and one extreme worries that if they adjust, they're going to go all the way to the other side. So those who are too emotional and follow every emotion, they're like, well, getting grounded sounds like I'm going to be dead. And those who are more on the don't feel emotions, don't ever pay attention to them, they think allowing themselves to feel means they're just going to fall off the rails and just live a lawless life. No, that's not true. So it's about being compassionate. It's about looking at yourself through the lens of nurture. You've been through some stuff. There's some things you need to recognize. This is where most people get disempowered, even if they're getting help. Because then they come back to their counselor or coach or whatever. They say, still not better, still not better. When you're angry and frustrated that things aren't changing, it's a sign compassion still needs to have its work. I mean, we never arrive. We're always learning more, always going deeper. But when you feel that, why aren't things changing? That's a sign the deeper work of compassion needs to have its effect in our hearts. And we're still dancing around it. We're still avoiding it. Okay? So we have to meet where we're at. So if you're like, well, I didn't grow up with an emotional grid, that needs compassion. Okay, so it's going to take time. Don't compare yourself to other people. Stop going, well, they seem fine. You know how many people say to me, I'm in church and I look around and everyone seems like they're just emotionally doing great. Here I am dead. I'm like, if you only knew. But don't compare yourself anyways. And don't use this thing that I sometimes call fake gratitude. What's fake gratitude? Fake gratitude is, well, there's people starving in other nations. There's people that are going through things worse than me. Why am I even struggling? How many of you do that? All right, maybe your parents suffered more, or the generations past you suffered more, and you're like, why am I And so it's another form of self-hate. It's another form of self-contempt, self-rejection. You're just beating yourself up over where you're at. Listen, this is where you're at. This is where you're at. Loving compassion meets you where you're at. So don't shame yourself. People will tell me their story and then shame themselves while they're telling the story. I went through this, and I don't even know why I'm sharing this. I've done this and this is where I'm at. And I really should be. So they share what they're going through and then they immediately diagnose it with a harsh inner critic. So there's not a fruitful journey because you're not allowing where you're at to just come to the surface and let it be met with the kindness of God. The goodness of a father who says, it's all right, come here. Let's sit down. Because a parent who's just quick to diagnose, oh, you just need to and brisk you off, that's not parenting. Parenting is we sit down. We take time. And that's what God our Father is. He welcomes the expression. David in the Psalms was so good at this because he would express just raw what he was going through. And if you notice, in the expression, he finds his way in his emotional expression into what he needed. People who are emotionally dead or feel they're dead or think they're dead or numbed or checked out, they haven't given themselves room to go through that wave. The honest expression, and in the honest expression of the emotion, there's discovery that's there. Oh, this is what's really going on. I didn't know that. I thought I was just mad at this. No, it's really about this. Okay, I've got a journey of learning how to grow in that area. That's the curve that I'm recommending that I didn't get equipped in, and most likely neither did you. but do we have to invite the compassionate witness? Okay. So the third thing, let's go into phase 3. And again, these are journaling things. You can write these statements down. Is discover what's preventing you from feeling. Now we need compassion in this. Otherwise, you're going to check out of this too. We want to discover, what is it? Is it your upbringing, your cultural upbringing? When I say cultural, I mean family, church, neighborhood, friends. What was emotions? Was it not allowed? What's preventing you from being able to feel and connect to emotions and work through them? Are you too hard on yourself? I had to navigate through that in a very dedicated way. It birthed the book, God Loves Me and I Love Myself, because I was in a season of struggle and trial. I felt like I was at my limit, absolute limit. And in that season, the only thing I could sense God speaking to my heart was this thought of, when times get tough, you turn on yourself and you beat yourself up. And that's what I want to heal, which was a bit frustrating for me because I wanted God to fix my circumstance. And what God wanted to do was heal how I saw myself. And it birthed that book. And for many people, that's also helped you in that way, to invite the more compassionate witness of how God sees you. Maybe you're just so intense. You're a perfectionist, and you've got people have told you you're a perfectionist, and you're like, I'm not a perfectionist. I have standards in my life. We always rename perfectionism. I believe in holiness, and if you feel this like inside of you, that's that like intensity. Most likely the work of perfectionism. You need things just right, or you can't be at peace. So you're very, very intense towards yourself. Excuse me. Keep bumping into the mic here. So what else is in the way? What's preventing you from being able to feel? Is it fear? That's a big one. The fear of feeling. If I feel this, and sometimes we need to just go into it. Now, maybe we need somebody with us to just be there for us as we process through it. That's why somebody who's good, a good listener, can be such a great place. They're not going to try to just jump and tell you what you need to do. Just be there to listen. And then when the tears flow and you start going, sorry, you shouldn't be, often people who were not given permission, they apologize every time they cry, or they apologize when they're sharing certain, feelings and emotions, right? No, it's okay. Maybe fear is it, just being afraid because there's no reference. Maybe overwhelm, a fear that you're not going to be able to handle what you're feeling. Usually that's a lie. Usually it needs some grieving, some tears. It just needs to be brought to the surface. Otherwise, that stuff gets locked up in us. Like I said, emotions are like the waves, come and flow through. They're not meant to be dammed up inside of us. It pressurizes, and then it comes out in a different way. So you may have something that needs grieving, and you don't. And then years down the road, you have this anger problem. So you go, I need anger management. So you go to anger management. You learn 3 techniques and breathe and count to 10 and this and that. And that's fine. But you never got to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is, have you allowed yourself to feel some of those things that you went through and process what's needed there? This is such a needed thing in our life, in our journey. Maybe you disconnect too quickly. And maybe you're trying to solve your problem so quickly, you never just let yourself go through it. That was a huge part of my journey. I got to fix this. This isn't right. What do I need to do? And I realized, no, something I need to go through versus something just get rid of. You just don't know how. And you admit that. But the reality is, most likely you probably lack the equipping in being able to nurture yourself through. You see, the Holy Spirit is given to us. And Jesus said, I'm sending you. He's going to be the helper. In some translations, he's the comforter. In other passages, you shall receive power. He reminds you of the words of Christ. To do what? Empower us, edify us, comfort us. Why do you need a comforter? What's the point of the Godhead saying you are going to be sent the comforter? Because you're going to need comfort, and you're going to need a lot of it. How are you going to receive comfort if you're beating yourself up, avoiding emotions, running from them, afraid of them, or saying there's no room for it? Comfort is an emotion, isn't it? And so what God wants to do is heal us so we learn how to receive comfort from him, comfort ourselves, comfort others, instead of going to a drug or a cookie or a plate of pizza or whatever we go to try to nurture ourselves, to try to calm our emotions. Have we actually let ourselves feel what needs to be felt? So this moves us into this now more activation stage, okay? This is number 4. Number 3 was discover what's preventing you from feeling. Number 4 is now it's a decision. I find that new things always begin with what I'll call here decision permission. Decision. I'm making a decision, and that decision is a permission. I decide I'm going to give myself permission to feel what I need to feel. I prayed this prayer years ago. Okay, God, because I was coming to the end of myself and trying to experience greater peace and love. It's like, this is nuts what I'm living. I've got to reboot this. And so, God, I give you permission to be a part of my emotional world. I give you permission to work on my heart. And even if I feel nervous and afraid, I'm going to face that because I don't know how to do life effectively in these areas. Maybe I found it'd be helpful because many of you at one point in your life and journey, you turned the breaker off. And you said, that's it. You hit that switch because you didn't want to feel the pain anymore. The problem is there's only one breaker. You know, in my house, I have a series of breakers. They all go to different, my electrical panel goes to different sections of the house. And you can hit one area off. And we think in our emotions, we can hit the sadness, grief, pain breakers. It just taps those out. No, there's only one. It's just one big switch. So we go, and then we realize, well, I don't feel that. I don't feel that pain anymore. But then we realize we don't feel joy and enjoyment and fulfillment. Now, I'm not trying to give you just a silver bullet solution. Oh, turn the breaker on, everything's going to be fine. But what it does is it opens up permission. I'm going to give myself permission to feel one step at a time. You feel overwhelmed? It's okay. Pause. You don't have to back the truck up. This isn't like one time, let everything flow out, and you're just going to be all better. Nope. It's a journey one day at a time. I will say the number one help in my life and my journey has been giving myself kindness, to be safe towards myself and how I navigate through emotions. Don't panic. Don't overreact. Don't domino your interpretation of this. Don't make it worse than it is. Steady. Just go through. Okay, that's the way you're hearing me talk right now is the language of being more nurturing. Okay, so it's a lot of coming down to decision. Now, I'm going to give myself permission one step at a time. Okay, so number 5 is now we're doing some of the day-to-day work. Allow yourself to become more self-aware. And what I mean by that is I want to learn how to identify better in the day-to-day of how my heart's doing. This is not introspection. This is not every minute checking. Those of you that have OCD issues, no, that's not what this is. Those of you that get very ruminating, no. In fact, people with OCD don't actually connect to what they're feeling. Mark, what are you talking about? They think they are. They have a discomfort and it goes to a certain area they think it needs to be fixed. And that, they feel, has nothing to do with what they're really feeling. Their real issues are, deep areas of fear, deep areas of neglect to their emotions have actually been neglected. So OCD has become survival mechanism. So it becomes very difficult because they don't realize the problem is not the problem. Well, you don't have to have OCD to relate to this. Because a lot of us are not self-aware. What's really going on? And sometimes what we need is someone else to be a mirror, so to speak, to kind of reflect back to us what they're seeing. And this is what a safe, healthy, good listener, a good counselor, or someone with a counsel kind of bent to them, they're not there to tell you what to do, fix you, or anything like that. But if they can mirror back, here's what's coming to the surface. And don't just reject it. Oh, no, that's not what it is. No, don't. Take it into consideration. Instead of, and this has been very helpful for me, I'm going to say it this way. Stop saying, how do I get rid of this emotion? And actually start saying, what actually is this emotion? And what can I learn that's deeper than just kind of the pathway I keep taking it to? Right? Whatever it is, fear, anxiety, anger, it has a target, and that target is like your programming. You see that in that certain way. But the problem's not the problem. I'm mad at my spouse. That's part of it. Well, why are you mad at your spouse in that area? Why is it that there's 700 annoying things your spouse does and that doesn't bother you? But this one thing, because that area has a trail that leads to stuff in history. And you're not going to find it in introspection and sitting there for hours and hours and hours. Nope. It's just compassionate love and I'm just going to be open and aware. Because when God delivers truth, he doesn't use fear, guilt, and all this tormenting stuff. It's bubbling up to the surface kind of stuff, relationally. And it's usually deeper, more empowering. It's usually more the long-term in mind. It's not these quick fix kind of things. I hope this is helping. Allow your emotions to be something you feel through versus something you run from, fix, escape. And to many people, they don't want to hear that because it's a thing going through. Anxiety, panic attacks, whatever. It takes a going through a journey. It's not just, still gone, still not gone yet, still not gone. Yeah, because you got to allow the journey. Are you allowing the compassionate journey? Are you more aware of where life has maybe worn you down? Have you gone through something in your life, in your journey, and you're not taking into consideration because we often overestimate what we can handle? We brush it off, move on, and we don't realize the weight of that is sticking to us. And then we have issues like maybe chronic fatigue or cortisol is just shot in our system. Your sleep's, messed up, or you're craving sweets all the time, right? And you're like trying to diet or whatever, and you're frustrated because you're losing weight, or you have extra weight around your waist from that like stress response. And you realize there's stuff you're going through. You're diagnosing it harshly, and then you're medicating it with stuff that will never satisfy. So if you have a big thing of pizza, you feel full and you feel bloated, then you're beating yourself up for feeling the pizza. Guess what happened? You never actually addressed what was really the problem. And now you have this distraction problem that you feel terrible because you ate bad food. See how important this is? And how we address things. So being more self-aware. Now, number 6, what I would do is recommend is allow your vocabulary to get expanded in your emotions. And I notice when people express emotions, they have a couple words they use, and that's about it. I'm just frustrated. It's frustrated. Well, I'm angry. What are you angry about? It's okay that you feel angry. All right. Let's navigate that. What does it mean? What are some of the things that are going on? Do you find that you just use the same words over and over again? It may be a sign that it's time to go deeper. And sometimes when I work with people, they hit a limit and they go, whatever. That's that. They've hit that cap. Like, no, Stop dismissing what you're going through. Acknowledge it, see it, embrace it. Let's take one step further. And then they discover something. Oh, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I had that pain that I just kept running from. Right? Do you find yourself when you're in those places, you find yourself swearing, right? Swearing is a great example, right? And as Christians, like, we shouldn't swear, right? I'm not recommending swearing, but what swearing can be is that you've hit that cap, that limit. So it's easier to just let out a profanity rather than express maybe a deeper word for what you're saying, right? Like even they say, I've heard this said to, I'm not the first person to say this, comedians that will use profanity. And they just use over and over and over and over and over again. There's a need for a deeper expansion of vocabulary because it's easy to just jump to a swear word rather than expanding a new word. Because the English language, many languages have richer words that we need to discover. Maybe you need to get one of those, you can find it online, an emotion, I think it's called emotion wheel. It's like a picture of a wheel, and it's got like little wedges in it, and it has emotion, names to it. Sometimes it's helpful just take one of those, look at it, and go, okay, that's what I typically call what I feel. What else around it is something similar? Learn what they mean, because in that, God is relational. How are we going to develop a relationship with God if we don't learn how to communicate deeper? But again, it takes compassion, because otherwise you're just going to judge yourself. You're going to say, you need to just do better, and you're just a bad Christian. No. Some things I'm going through. Okay? Now, next level. Have you grieved or processed through some of the difficult seasons in your life? A loss of a loved one, miscarriages, a disease battle that you went through, or illness. Maybe you came through it, but man, was weary. Special needs diagnosis of one of your children, a divorce, a big move, leaving a church, moving out of the area, starting a whole new job. Have you let yourself kind of just work through what those things bring about in you? And if you say, well, I do, but I get stuck. Okay, that's a sign there may need to be some more equipping. Compassion. And what is it that I'm feeling? What does it mean? How can I go deeper? And I need a new interpretation, probably. A more nurturing, empowering interpretation. Because most of us get stuck in the same interpretation over and over again. If you notice, you just say it over and over again. This is happening, it means this, and then you just stay stuck in that cycle over and over again. When I invite the new interpretation, it empowers me based on God's love for me and his nurture. So ask yourself, what's a new way I can approach these emotions in a way that I haven't before? What's the new meaning that I need to cultivate and develop? Now, maybe nurture's an issue, and you may want to take advantage of the online course that my wife and I put together. It's just discussions we had about the importance of nurture, what it means, what lack of nurture means, and how we can begin to cultivate the voice of nurture in our life, to be able to let it empower us. Because when you feel dead and all that, you need life brought back to you. And Jesus said, I've come that you might have life, but you got to know the thief comes only. He's not here to do anything but, in other words, steal, kill, destroy. And how does he do that? By just tapping away at the emotional life that Christ came to bring us. To just wear it out, to steal it. He'll steal it from you. Steal stuff in your life and be a thief in that way. Opportunities, moments, stuff, right? To just kill certain areas and to destroy. So this is a war. This is a battle. So if you feel that deadness, know there's a war over you, but Christ came to give life. Now, where's life? It's the life flowing through the heart, the love of the Father flowing through our hearts, knowing we're loved sons and daughters of God. Without that, the enemy knows we're going to feel dead, because that deadness is often just an absence of love, not an absence of trying to do better. You need to do more and 10 steps. We got plenty of people out there telling you, well, you need to do these 3 more things and these 5 more things. No, what you need is love. What you need is love. And we die emotionally in the absence of love. And God doesn't just have love. He is love. He's the very essence of love. And so no wonder we struggle to connect to him because we don't even know what love is. We don't know how to connect it, and we're weary and worn out. What you need is you need a compassionate voice. It's okay. Life is here. We're going to breathe that life back into your heart. But how can I look at this? Because that's what is often needed. I need to look at this from a different perspective, not just always the judgment. Now, I also recommend you may need to find a safe person to express what you're feeling without being judged or shamed so you can figure it out. And you may need to pay someone to do that. And that's okay. And accept that. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, a terrible person. You may need to pay someone to do that. And that's if they're decent at what they do, they'll be able to hear you, listen to you, and just provide just some questions or things back to get you to go a little bit deeper. So you can work now the emotion of your life and giving yourself space. And you got to give yourself space and room to feel what you need to feel. Sometimes you can find it in very unexpected places. I've had moments where my emotions were captured in a way I didn't expect. Watching a certain movie, listening to a certain song, having a conversation with a person, and a story comes to the surface, and it grips me in a way I didn't realize. Allow that to be things that connect your heart. Don't shut down those things. Avoid them or run or hide from them. Don't avoid even uncomfortable conversations like, go, you know what? I'm going to press through and have this. And I'm going to learn to let compassion wash over this. I pray this is a blessing to your life and your journey. I'm not encouraging certainly any quick fixes, but giving you some dialogue, some things that you can consider in your own life and your own journey. This has been a blessing to your life. Consider supporting this work. You can do a one-time donation or become a monthly supporter. That's always appreciated. If you want to dive into some deeper help, the Heart Healing Journey is a great place to go because I'm just going to help you navigate issues of the heart. There is an online course in a volume 1 and a volume 2. And there's a great add-ons to this. It kind of just takes the book and goes whoa, and just really gives some added breadth and width to it. But you can get the book in paperback. It's an audiobook, and you can also get it in ebook format as well too. So take advantage of that. God loves me and I love myself has certainly been a game changer for me in that perspective, applying that in my life and in my own journey. Of course, that nurture issue. I gotta learn how to comfort myself. I got to learn how to receive that comfort. But anyways, I pray this is a blessing to your life, to your journey. Most of all, more than anything else, I want you to experience compassionate grace in your life, where you're at, where you're headed, that you know the love that Jesus sought to bring, the love of the Father for you today to empower you to live healed and live free. Look forward to speaking with you all next time. Blessings.